reflect over the y-axis. Thank you for paying attention to what I'm asking. It asks you to reflect over the y-axis in number 5. So, how did we determine the coordinates mathematically when reflecting over the y-axis? Anton, weirdly enough, that board that you're supposed to be paying attention to isn't out that window or in front of Zari or whatever you were just doing, up here. So, how do we determine the coordinates mathematically when we reflect over the y-axis?
Multiply by negative 1.
Multiply what by negative 1?
By negative 1.
Okay. When reflecting over the y-axis.
The y stays the same.
So y stays the same. The y value stays the same. And the x value, what? So the x value becomes the opposite. What's the other way we can say it?
Multiply by
So when reflecting over the y-axis, the y value stays the same and the x value becomes the opposite. Sir. Yes, move your feet out from under his desk. Literally, like, your foot is
Wait, is there somebody snoring?
now it's not an issue. You're about to leave. Because you're making it an issue now. No. So, couple of quick things I want to point out about this. Is it weird to anybody else how we reflect over the y-axis and the x value changes?
Yes.
Has anybody thought about that yet?
No.
Austin's like, yes, I did.
No.
You did not?
Yes.
Do we want to talk about it?
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Please. Please.
Raise your hand if you do want to talk about it. Okay. So, I want you to think about it this way. If I have a point that is right here, and I reflect over the y-axis, remember when we reflect, it is how to the line of reflection.
What?
Like, if I'm moving over the y-axis, would I do it here?
No.
It has to be perpendicular.
Yes.
What type of line is perpendicular to the y-axis? What direction?
Left.
Right.
Okay, there is this direction, and then there is
Oh,
this direction.
horizontal.
Hold on. A lot of people are talking at the same time.
Horizontal.
Thank you. This line is horizontal.
Yeah.
Hey, which variable, x or y, is horizontal? X. That is why that is happening. So if I'm reflecting over the y-axis, that's a horizontal direction, which is why the x is changing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In a similar way, if it's over the x-axis, the line is vertical, which is why which variable is changing?
Y.
The y. Right? So there is a reason why, if it's over the y-axis, the x value changes. But I need you to hear me very clearly, because I have worked with students since about 2010 or 2011, is when I first started doing ACT tutoring and math tutoring. Consistently, students mess up the reflections. One, because they're busy playing hand games in class, Matthew. Rose, if you want to be able to bring some fidget things to be able to play with while you're in class to help you focus, then you better show me that you can be responsible instead of playing silly games like this. I need you paying attention, taking notes. So, can students consistently mess up where to multiply by the -1?
Why?
When they see reflecting over the x-axis, I consistently see students multiply the x by -1. You need to be careful about that and study that and ingrain that in yourself. If it's over the x-axis, which value is being multiplied by -1? The y. When it's over the y-axis, you're multiplying x. Okay? So now let's look at numbers 6 and 7. Number 6 is an important detail that you need to write out. So how is a reflection different from a translation? What you got?
I got, shut up.
Hold on, Jalen had his hand first. Then I will go to Gabe, then I'll go to Rose. See if we have anything else we want to add in. Jalen.
Oh, so like a transformer, like you moving it.
A what? Trans what?
Translation.
Thank you. Translation is the term.
So like, you doing that, right? You just moving it around. For reflection, you go like perfectly straight and perpendicular to the other side of where you're going.
To the line of,
The x-axis or y-axis.
so the line of reflection
Yeah.
is literally a reflection.
I didn't know what you were trying to say.
Okay. So, one, can we all agree that a translation is just moving it around? Yes.
Yes.
Whereas a reflection is literally preserving that distance across the line of reflection. So one, we might want to make that note. Translations move figures around while the reflection reflects the same distance across what?
Axis.
Across the line of reflection. Now, let me clarify, because I think I understand why some of us are hesitant to use that word line of reflection and only want to use the word axis. We have only reflected across an axis so far. However, could I draw a line right here and reflect across that? Yes. You can reflect over lines other than the axes. We're just focusing on the axes. Hey, could I draw this line in and reflect across it? It just has to be perpendicular and the same distance. It has to be perpendicular and then roughly the same distance. So that's a little off, but it'd be about that point. Okay, why are you talking? While I'm talking. You have forever and a day to talk in your small groups about the math, and then when I start talking at the front of the room, that's time for you to pay attention and take notes. Terrence, I don't need to hear it because you're giggling, so it's probably something that you don't need to say. Stop. 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 But I still need you paying attention as I'm going over an important detail like this that you don't necessarily need to take a note of, but if it's important enough for me to say, it's something you should pay attention to. So yes, I would agree with those details, but I feel like there's something else. Gabe, you wanted to add something earlier. Is there anything beyond that you wanted to add? No? Who was the other one? Rose, that's all you wanted to say? Alana?
Yeah.
Reflection, you multiply by -1.
Okay, reflection. So remember, mathematically, we need to focus on that. So you should have said it. Mathematically, reflections do what?
Multiply by
Reflections multiply by -1. And what do translations do?
Add and subtract.
Translations add and subtract. Okay. It is important to understand that translations add and subtract because we are doing translations with geometry. When you get into the algebras, guess what you're still going to do? Translations. We're doing reflections with geometry. You know what you're gonna do when you get into algebra?
Translate.
Y'all, listen to the statement I'm making. In geometry, you're doing reflections. Guess what you're also going to do in algebra? Reflections.
Doing the same thing.
Y'all probably did not quite get to it because we are behind due to COVID, but that is something that you do, yes. If we didn't call it reflections last year when we talked about the concavity of the parabolas. So you remember how the parabola was concave up or concave down? Yeah, because you haven't taken Algebra 1. I'm talking to Jalen who took Algebra 1 last year. Thank you. Because you're butting your way into a conversation and talking over me when I'm trying to teach. Yes, ma'am. Say again. The bell is we're gonna be done in just a second. Can you hold on for just a minute? Okay. So, please hear me very clearly. We need to understand these details because adding and subtracting go with translations whether you're doing it in geometry or in algebra with functions. Okay? So we talked about those details, or you will talk about those details in algebra. And then reflections happen when we multiply by -1. And again, when you get into algebra with functions, if you multiply by -1, guess what it's going to do to your functions? Reflect it, right? Multiply by -1 is a reflection.
Yeah, it probably look like the Hamilton had close like
So, number 7. Reset the figure by moving the point back to the end position. And notice how it just says to predict the coordinates of A prime, B prime, and C prime. So, A was originally what coordinates?
3, 5.
3, 5. If I reflect it over both the x-axis and the y-axis, what is A prime going to be?
Let's see. We gotta break.
Don't do it in the calculator. It asks you to make a prediction.
Which one is this?
Number 7A says predict the coordinates of A prime, B prime, and C prime. Amari, I need you paying attention.
Over both the X and
Over both the x-axis and the y-axis. So what's going to happen to 3, 5? Rose? Rose.
Yeah.
Okay, then never mind. What's your thoughts? Sorry. What's your thoughts? Sorry? What are your thoughts?
I said multiply by -1 for both.
Which parts? The 3, the 5, both, neither?
I said both.
You said both? Yo, we're having a whole class discussion, not small conversations.
I don't know.
I will get other people involved. So you think it'll be -3, -5? Brooke, you had your hand up earlier.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think it's -3, -5.
You agree? Okay, why are you agreeing with that? What's making you think that?
Because when you do it for the say the y by itself, it changes the.
Hold on, sorry, Brooke. I'm a little distracted because I hear people making noises and talking instead of respectfully listening and trying to learn. And that's going to cut out now. It's not just you, but you're the one I know for sure that was doing it. Now, we are all going to respectfully listen to Brooke. Stop. What were you saying, Brooke?
So, say you were doing it with just the y axis, only the x would change and it would become opposite. So if you do it for both of them, they're both going to become opposite.
Gabe, quit. I can hear you, dude.
I agree.
Okay. So, for those of y'all who couldn't hear, because some people were trying to be quiet but weren't quiet enough, when it's a reflection over the x-axis, the y is multiplied by -1, making it -5. And then when we reflect it over the y-axis, the x is multiplied by -1, making it -3. So both of those are going to change signs. And so when we test those predictions, is that what we got?
Yes.
Yes. All right. And so how would you determine the coordinates? You would multiply both by -1. Yeah.
So you're just switching the both?
Say again.
Just switching the both?
Yes. Be careful of that language. Take the opposite of both. There you go. for example, if I had the point -3, 4, and I were to reflect that over the x and the y axis, what would that point be?
-1.
3 and negative 4.
Oh, wait.
That one, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to reflect that over x and y, I would get 3, -4. No, it was not nice work today. It was not very good work at all.
Pretty work today.
No, stop and listen. Hold on. Hey, stop and listen. I've got 3 minutes. I need at least 2 of those 3. These sheets, the 3 sheets that I gave you, do you know how long they should have taken us?
2 minutes.
A day. Total.
Yeah, we was doing other stuff though.
We were not. Hey, listen. Stop. Packing and listen. Holy crap. What does stop packing and listen mean to you? Like, I still hear backpack zipping. I see hands on backpacks instead of
Good
listening.
afternoon, Hillcrest. Beta Club members need to bring their dogs and cat
You
toys
can
for the
pack
Humane
until
Society to Mrs. Strongman's room Wednesday
announcements are
at
done,
5
and then we're
p.m.
going to stop. Yes.
If you're interested in more than those rolling, please contact Clemson number 406 or Riverside Library. Congratulations to the class for helping
I didn't say get up. I said you can pack. Sit back down. I'll get the calculators. I
As
need
you
you
may have
seated.
noticed, the main staircase will be closed Wednesday through Friday. Only the elevator will be accessible during the day, so please use it as a direct.
Are you done telling us stuff, please?
National Honor Society members, information sheet is turned in to Mrs. Hodges' room by tomorrow. Also, sign up for the TPS 23 5:30 to 8:30. Also, make don't forget to bring 5 cans per service hour. Have a good Thursday and go back.
Alright, so the stopping or the talking stops now. I need you to listen. This task, the 2 tasks, should have taken 1 day total, at most 2 days. We haven't even finished the first task. You have got to come in and get seated and get to work. This is your big ideas for this unit. It is the graphic organizer that we will be using. Please remember, I forgot to remind you about the graphic organizer for parallel and perpendicular lines. Oh, stop talking and listen. That was due on the test day. I forgot to remind you, I will be collecting it tomorrow. So you should already have it done. Why are you talking while I'm talking?
You're not supposed to.
Make sure that you have your orange big idea sheet done. Remember, you can update the ones you did not score well on. Gentlemen, why are you looking at the camera instead of listening? No, stop. I need you both listening. You could have updated your big ideas graphic organizer to improve your score from last time. I haven't said yet, but notice you should already be able to fill out translations. I would go ahead and get started.
Mr. Kenny, you got one towel.
Yeah, there's some
Oh,
there.
it's still on the floor.
Oh, no. That's okay. It's them.
What's ready? What's ready?
I'm gonna take this up.
See.